good afternoon, and welcome to Beware of Spoilers. I am Adam. So, Netflix dropped a bunch of stuff this weekend. A bunch of new movies, a bunch of new things. I figured I'd start going through that, because I really don't want to go see Ticket to Paradise in a theater. It's not a movie that I'm like, let me rush out and see that. And I don't want to pay out of pocket to see Tar, or Till. Well, really, last night I didn't want to. Maybe tomorrow, because the Giants are playing the late game, or the late afternoon game. Maybe I'll go see Tar in the afternoon. We'll see. But regardless, we're here to talk about the School of Good and Evil, which is one of those, good thing you waited until the last possible second, fucko, I meant that turn. It's one of those interesting, I wonder what it must be like for someone listening to this, because it's kind of like GTA, where if you drive around during a traveling cutscene, and someone does something, your character will just stop the conversation and just curse out whoever it is. But either way, the School of Good and Evil is an interesting idea that I think kind of falls flat in execution. Where it's the story of this, there's this school, we'll call it, Hogwarts, I don't know why that's popping into my head, but it's just popping into my head for some reason. I feel like that's a good name for this school. So you have this school, and the people are divided up into good or evil. And the good people learn how to be princesses and stuff like that, while the bad people learn how to be villains and evil. And it's this really interesting idea behind it, where I'm going to spoil the fuck out of this, because I feel like the best things about it come toward the end and are in the realm of spoilers. And looking at it, I think that the idea that good and evil are not black and white in the way the school originally portrays it is interesting, and it would be cool to see that explored in this movie beyond what it is. I think the movie gets too bogged down in exposition, because it takes about a good 40 minutes for it to actually kick into gear and to have something resembling a plot and a conflict. Because, you have the two main characters, who are Agatha and Sophie. I think the other one's name is. They're the two main characters, and the Sophie, if that's her, because Agatha is the one who goes to the wrong school and goes to school for good. Sophie wants to leave the town they're in. They never really explain why she wants to leave the town they're in, besides the fact that she feels like she's worth more than all of that. And she finds out about the school. It's mythical. It's where, they train the people that become fairy tale characters. Don't think about it too hard. Whatever. So they go to this school. And they do eventually get there. Agatha is dropped off in the school for good. Sophie is dropped off in the school for evil. And they have to prove that they're in the wrong school so they can go back to where they belong. Or in Agatha's case, really she just wants to go home. She doesn't want to be there at all. She just wants to go home and be with her family. Sophie, on the other hand, would like to, stay in the school, but she wants to be a princess, or she wants to be on the side for good, so she's got to prove that she was in the wrong place. And then you end up with this really just, kind of interesting look at what goes into defining both in the myth at the time, and it does create this weird feeling that there is something there. There's definitely a story here that could be interesting, and maybe the book is better, because I got to the credits and it says based on the book by I don't know the author's name, but by the time you get to that point, it's like, okay, well, can we get an explanation, as to, first off, I don't think that the villain's plan is very clear throughout most of the movie. I feel like that's a pretty important thing to have nailed down. that they just don't. It's like he wants to, like, the School of Good and Evil has been trying to, like, evil's been trying to win. Evil hasn't won in 200 years. Good has continually won, so, evil wants to win. Whatever, evil's trying to win. And there's also this thing where the headmaster's brother is also the physical embodiment of evil. Alright, motherfucker, you got directly in front of me. The headmaster's brother is a physical embodiment of evil, and they need to, what's it called? I don't know, there's very little, cosmic good and evil, in that, not in the cosmic, Marvel cosmic where it's in space, but, more cosmic, universal laws of reality kind of good and evil aspects of this, until we get toward the end of the movie, and then it kind of comes out of left field, and it's like, alright, I understand where this is going, and I understand what they're going with here. I just don't think it's well executed, and I don't think it's well explained or laid out, so the viewer doesn't feel like a lot of this is coming out of left field. What else was there? I feel like the characters are great, and I think the characters will kind of make the movie kind of enjoyable, is that it's like, at about the 40-minute mark, I almost turned it off and put on Impractical Jokers while I was working on a script for something that may be going up late this weekend, early next weekend. But, I almost did that, because I'm like, I really can't get to it. But the only reason I really stayed on was I was like, alright, it's not, it's not abysmal, it's just not that good. And I would like to have seen an explanation as to, I think that, and I keep saying I want an explanation, but really it's not that. I don't need someone to sit down and hold me through the whole thing. But I would have liked the bad guy to be a little bit better interwoven into the main plot. He doesn't feel like he's in the main plot for the majority of the book, and I feel like at that point you're kind of just dealing with him, not being a significant threat or a significant, not even threat, but entity throughout the entire proceedings. He comes out every once in a while, but it's like his plan is never really fleshed out, and neither is his want. And look, they very clearly define what the protagonists want, to the point where it feels like this got put through, and they got notes back that said, well, it's not clear what your characters want, so it feels like every scene they're redefining and re-explaining what they want. But because of the performances by the two actresses, it's at least endearing and somewhat entertaining. I just feel like it would have been, there's a better way to lay it out, and the movie doesn't do that properly. What else? I think the movie's not terrible. I just feel like there's a lot of missed opportunities to make it better. And based on the runtime being 2.5 hours, it's like there's a lot of stuff that could have been cut and replaced with better content. By the time we get to about halfway through the movie, they introduce this idea that there's this magic finger thing, that they will prick your finger and it will give you magic defined by who you are. But I don't know, maybe a 5-minute sequence kind of defining what those powers are would have been useful. Because I don't think it's ever really properly explained, and it's like, okay, so they can turn into birds, but they made it sound like that was something that couldn't happen very often. Someone says, I think it's there's one girl who's like, oh, I want to turn into something, I want to turn into a cat so I can sleep under the oven, and it's like, okay, well, that makes sense, but it's the way she phrases it makes it sound like that's not a common occurrence. So by the time we get to the third act, and both the protagonists have this ability to transform into birds, it's like, well, did they just get luck of the draw, or are they just the avatars of the world, where it's they have all these powers? A little clearer definition there would have been useful. And I feel like getting a little deeper into what defines good and evil is interesting, because the villain does introduce that idea in the third act, and kind of goes well, what I've been doing is I've been to strengthen evil. I've been doing my best to strengthen evil, but at the same time, I've been diluting what good is. And when you think about it, it's like when they talk about what it is, it's like, it's very vain the way they define good. You have to smile. You have to, make wishes for your own self-interest and your own personal gain and your own love. And it's like, that's good, but really that's evil. And then it's like, I just feel like it's an interesting idea. And then it's like at one point in the movie, they introduce the idea that, like, good never attacks, good only defends. And it's like, they introduced that fairly early on. And I feel like that idea could have been delved into a little bit deeper. You only really get one scene where it's explained that, someone is truly good. And I think that Agatha being the true embodiment of good is not delved into nearly as much as Sophie being the true embodiment of evil or chaos. And I'm like, all right, whatever, I guess. Oh boy, another movie with someone who embodies chaos and has red magic. Oh, I haven't seen that before. Anyway, it is an interesting thing, and I think it's one of those things where it's like one or two more passes on the script probably could have made it better, but at the same time, I don't know what you would have cut and added in. I feel like that a lot of the issues here are more structural and needed to have been fixed in an earlier draft. It's not like another draft from where they were at production would have fixed it. But early on in development, they would have needed to completely rework the script, and there is an idea there that could have been interesting and better executed. But because from a technical standpoint, the movie doesn't have any real major issues. It's directed well, the acting's fine, the effects are a little dodgy, but nothing that is outlandishly awful. Some of them could have been better, like the wolf people, and there's a girl who I'm like, is that CG or is that makeup? And it's like, if it's CG, it's really shitty CG. And it's like there is definitely stuff that could have been better handled in that regard. And I also would have liked to have seen more stuff in the forest. I feel like that, like, they introduced this idea that there's this forest that's going to teach you everything you need to know about fighting monsters, and you only get to see 2 monsters, and I'm like, that's just a letdown. Like, show me more of that. Don't put wolf people guarding in the castle. Like, do stuff in the forest, use that effect budget somewhere else. And I feel like that's just a lot of my issue with the movie, is that the effect budget is used in the wrong places, and where it is used, it doesn't look great. So we'll wrap up there for today. I'm also going to talk about this weekend All Quiet on the Western Front, which they just put on Netflix, and also probably Cabinet of Curiosities if I have time to watch that. But until our next episode, have a great rest of your week.